sorry.
via wireless communication.
I hit mute instead of unmute, sorry.
Okay. Okay, we should be working now, so whoever sent me that text, if you don't hear me, send it again. Consent agenda. Yeah, it's working.
Technology isn't great.
Technology at its best. We're
Instant feedback.
in advanced setting. City clerk, we got part of the consent agenda. Do we have any discussion, comments, questions on the consent agenda?
I've got a question on F.
Okay. Do you want to pull it or talk about it
Let's
first?
just talk about it.
Okay.
Local company, just curious why we're getting charged freight.
Okay, you guys switched your chairs.
His iPad was dying and he had to have a plug-in.
You're fine, I just,
So,
sorry.
Anyways.
The controller's not made here locally, but it's a local company that does the servicing and who I buy it from, and I'm not quite sure where that's made from. I know Vortex International's out of Canada. So,
okay.
So we're paying freight on it?
yes,
How much is it freight?
I think it's $145.
That is correct.
I know in my business, we have to order stuff from people that should have it, and I get charged freight, and I ask that question a lot. And I just get, it's not a normal thing that we stock, and since we don't stock it on a normal order, now you could wait for a normal order to come in from somewhere, but you don't know how long that'll be. And it's not that atypical, the situation, if that helps.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
I second.
Guthrie,
Yes.
Bottomilk,
Yes.
Yes.
and Easton.
Eric, I told everybody in the,
Easton?
yes, I told everybody in the room but you, we're gonna move number 7 to number 1. So give me just a
Oh,
minute.
okay.
You're the one guy that was affected most. Consider and take action on resolution number 2015-23, declaring the intent of the city council to maintain appropriations to the police, fire, and street department budgets at or above current funding levels, with any new revenues generated from the proposed public safety sales tax to be in addition to regular general fund appropriations for the police, fire, and departments. I'll read part of it, and then if anyone wants to discuss it, well, we can. A resolution regarding the proposed sales tax of the 0.25 of 1% upon the gross receipts of certain sales for the purpose of employing, training, and equipping additional City of Bixby police, fire, and street department personnel, and declaring that it is the intent of the Bixby City Council to dedicate the additional revenues generated by the 0.25 of 1% sales tax for the sole use of employing, training, and equipping additional City of Bixby police, fire, and street department personnel, separate and independent from general fund appropriations for the police, fire, and street departments. And I'm going to skip down a couple paragraphs to the real meat of the thing. Whereas it is the intent of Bixby City Council that the general fund appropriations to police, fire, and street department budgets will be maintained at or above current funding levels for each department, with new revenues generated from sales tax to be in addition to regular general fund appropriations for police, fire, and street departments. Any discussion?
This is basically so that levels can't be, we can't reduce the budget by the amount of the sales tax that comes in, the new sales tax if this should pass? Is that basically what this is for?
There was some concern by a few of the departments that are affected that if the city gets extra money through this proposition, that money would be slowly siphoned away from the general fund for their department.
Yeah.
This was a way for the city to guarantee and to say that our intent is not to do that and that we won't do that. And that's basically what it's about.
Kind of like what happened with the lottery?
No.
That's what they did.
So, It just outlines what we intend to do. It's just a restatement of intent. So, any other? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
I second.
Loudmout.
Yes.
Guthrie,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
and Easton.
Yes. Okay, Eric, now it's your turn. Item number 1, second reading and discussion and consideration to approve an ordinance to close a drainage detention easement at 10629 South 91st East Avenue in the enclave at Legacy.
Thank you, Mayor. This was a pre-existing drainage detention easement that was reflected in the plat of the enclave at Legacy. The situation is that the lot, according to the elevation survey, is too high to actually be in the floodplain or to be needed for drainage detention purposes. We had the identical situation on the lot to the north that we closed that part of that easement in 2010. City staff have no objections to the closure and recommend approval, subject to the approval of the city attorney as to form and legality. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions? Discussion? So this is an action item, so do we have a motion to approve?
I motion approve.
Second?
King,
Yes.
Easton,
Yes.
Loudmout,
Yes.
and Guthrie.
Yes.
Item number 2, second reading and discussion and consideration to approve an ordinance amending ordinance 272 and approving supplemental zoning PUD 91 and rezoning from AG to RS2 per BZ 385 for approximately 6 acres located at 11625 South Mingo Road. Eric?
Thank you, Mayor. This went to the Planning Commission at a special meeting October 6th and has a favorable recommendation of both the Planning Commission and staff. This is about 6 acres. They'd like to develop it as a housing addition by name of the Village at Twin Creeks. It'll have 22 lots on a private gated street that'll come off of Mingo Road, will terminate at a cul-de-sac turnaround, and then from there it will have a 20-foot wide emergency access drive, also gated with an emergency access gate that connects to 116th Place South. The surrounding zoning patterns and the comprehensive plan support the underlying zoning of RS2 and also the development of the property for a housing addition. The reason that they're asking for a PUD is because the subdivision regulations require a PUD when you do a private gated street. And also, they'll ask for some flexibility on the development standards, the bulk and area standards for the RS2 district. The lots will be 60 feet in width compared to the 75 that would be required with RS2 zoning. As it pertains to minimum standards for individual house construction, the Planning Commission staff report contains all the details, the metrics that we've used to compare not only the other housing addition entitlements that we've granted in the past few years, but also the surrounding context. And I believe that the numbers that they're proposing are compatible and consistent with all of those. They are proposing 2,400 square feet of minimum dwelling size and 100% masonry to the first floor top plate, with exclusions for windows, covered porches, and patios. In the report, there are some recommendations of the Planning Commission and staff. There is only one item that could require changes to the PUD text, but the change that would be required is a waiver that will actually be considered by the council on the next item. So I believe it's acceptable to disregard that and recognize that the PUD text and exhibits package we have in hand is the final version as recommended by Planning Commission and staff. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have for me.
Eric, on the square footage and masonry, is that gonna be actually in the covenants?
Yes. And that'll be the preliminary plat on the agenda next.
Does the covenants say that they have to come back to the city of Bixby to change those? That's where we've talked about that in the
Yeah.
past, where the developer has the right to change the covenants on their own.
I will be prepared for that when the next item comes up. That's where that will be addressed.
Okay.
One other thing of note, the original PUD included some language that they did not intend to build sidewalks. In discussing with the applicant and the developer, they are agreeable to do alternative compliance when it concerns sidewalks, and they'll actually propose that at some point here shortly.
What's alternative to a sidewalk?
Well, what we've done in the case of Somerset is they didn't want to build their sidewalk on Sheridan Road because of the grades. We let them build a sidewalk across the school property to the Life Church. And in the case of Southridge at Lantern Hill, we put in their PUD that they could pay money into an escrow account that we could use to build sidewalks elsewhere. They didn't actually use it, but those are options.
What we're looking at on private streets, if they're not wanting the sidewalks, we take that link and go put it on public streets where we have gaps.
Oh, so it's behind a gate.
So so a lot of these, if it's on a private street, if they don't want it there, let's take it out, let's put it on a public street, someplace where we have some gaps.
Right,
That's
gotcha.
kind of what we're trying to pursue. And we did the fee in lieu once, but how do you collect, how do you keep, and so we've never done that. And I think we're gonna prefer that we start going and putting in and closing into the gaps instead of if there's.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Guthrie,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Bottomount,
Yes.
and Easton.
Yes. Item number 3. Discussion and consideration to approve a preliminary plat and certain modification waivers for the village at Twin Creeks, approximately 6 acres, located at 11625 South Mingo Road.
Thank you. This is the preliminary plat of the same development. This went to Planning Commission on the 21st and has a favorable recommendation, subject to certain corrections, modifications, and conditions of approval. Staff and Planning Commission are in agreement. And those are included in the report, included in the agenda packet, to answer the question raised about whether or not they would have to come back to the city if they were to amend the development standards pertaining to house size and masonry. That's actually going to be covered by the PUD provisions of the plat. So because it's in the PUD, it's got to be in the PUD provisions of the plat, so yes, they would.
Any other discussion? Do we have a motion? On motion to approve.
Eric, do I see them? There it is. Okay. I was looking for the plat. Second.
Easton,
Yes?
Guthrie,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
and Bottomount.
Yes.
Item number 4, discussion and consideration to approve a preliminary plat and certain modification waivers for Misty Hollow Estates, approximately 11.4 acres, located at the 13200 block of South 78th East Avenue. Eric.
Thank you, Mayor. Correction to what I said earlier, the Planning Commission meeting was October 19th, last Monday. At that meeting, they also discussed this plat. There are a few design complications with this because the property is in the 100-year floodplain. Furthermore, the FEMA maps don't accurately reflect the entire area that is subject to the 1% annual chance flood or the 100-year flood, because the topo on the property reflect it's actually lower. They will need to, and they plan to, use the back acreage as borrow to build up the pad sites for home construction on the front along 78th East Avenue. We do allow for platting reserve areas only in the floodplain with the modification waiver, provided that the restrictive covenants prohibit developing buildings within the floodplain area in the reserve. There is also a matter of access to the back acreage. Right now, that back roughly 6-acre tract is landlocked, but as we have the opportunity now to make sure that we provide for access, there are any number of ways they can do that with access easement, or they could extend a handle of that reserve area up to 78th East Avenue, and that gives public access to that back area. The property owners will need to maintain it in the future, so they have to be able to allow contractors to get in and out. And I understand, per J.R. Donaldson, who could not be here tonight, he and his client are both in agreement with the staff and planning commission recommendations. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Discussion?
So they're building an 100-year floodplain.
They're going to build the residential lots up and out.
What do you mean by
But
up and
yes.
out? So you're gonna do fill?
Yeah, they've got 11.4 acres. The back 6 acres, they're going to use as a borrow area to
Well,
build
here's
up.
all my concern when they do that kind of stuff. Are they gonna be piering everything? Because you're gonna be putting a bunch of foundations on top of fill.
I don't have the answer to that.
No. So I don't want to see somebody's having their foundations cracking in 10 years because they put it on top of a bunch of fill.
How much fill did you say?
I don't know. One thing I would want to point out is the owner of the property does intend to build his own house. So hopefully he'll,
So he doesn't realize fill settles. I mean, I've seen it happen too many times. So it's like, are they gonna, you put that fill there and those houses are fine for a while, even post-tension. But then after a while, when the fill starts to settle and even put the post-tension, the whole thing will just lean. And it's like, so now you've got this house that's doing one of these. And it's like, are they gonna be packing all this fill? Or are they gonna be going through it and doing or just filling on it? Or are they gonna let it sit for 5 years before they build on it?
Well, one of the things that we did go back and do, how many years ago was that? Several years ago, is have a prescriptive foundation footing in our building code requirement that they go down and put the footing down in undisturbed soil.
Okay,
They
okay.
dig down and put that
So
with
it's
a
gonna be
stem
resting on
wall
undisturbed
if they don't have it engineered. So they have one or two choices, either do that, or they have each individual slab engineered, certified, stamped that, yes, this works. And then presumably that engineer took into account the fill that was there. So we
Okay.
have one of those two options.
I forgot about that. So, all right. I'm good with that.
Hey, Eric. Is this the property right here, the blue outline
that and the 6 acres behind it.
behind, to the west right here?
Yes, to the west.
So this is the one that's landlocked that you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, that was my confusion. So why don't they just combine the two lots?
Well,
It's
we
not
couldn't,
landlocked.
we couldn't actually allow them to combine them because we prohibit platting residential lots in the floodplain. So the only thing that can remain in the plat is a reserve area. In the floodplain, in the plat is a reserve area.
Do you know how many homes they plan on building?
4.
4 homes? Are these lots they're gonna sell, or are all 4 people already on board?
I haven't spoken with the owner directly, so I'm not quite sure what his plan is for the property, other than to create 4 estate-sized lots for 4 homes, including one for himself.
So you said on the foundation, so it either they have to go down to something that hasn't been disturbed, or do you have to have a structural engineer, or what type of engineer are you guys using?
For, it just, our code calls for a licensed engineer. The way state law is written, it's up to each engineer to, it's the responsibility on him to say, yes, him or her, I am competent to practice engineering, so that you get a professional engineering license that covers all those areas that you have competency in. So it may not necessarily be a structural engineer. Typically it is. There's about 2 or 3 companies that we see most of these from. It's not necessarily a requirement that they be a structural engineer. There is a separate examination. There's a civil engineering professional examination. There's mechanical. There are also particular ones, environmental, and there is structural. But under Oklahoma state law, you can practice in all of those areas as long as you have that professional engineering license that you can, any place that you have competency. So when we say structural engineer, it would be someone who's competent and practiced in that. They may not have a structural engineer license. They would be a professional engineer, but it's possible that they could be. We don't require that.
Any more questions, discussion?
I'm good with it.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Loudmout,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Guthrie.
Yes.
And Easton.
Yes. Item number 5, first reading of an ordinance amending ordinance 272, rezoning from RS2 to AG, approximately 80 acres, located 156th in South Harvard. Eric?
This is an ordinance first reading only. I'll bring this back for the meeting November 9th.
Okay. Item number 6, discuss and/or take action on change order number 4 for the bridge and drainage structures portion of the Vision 2025 Hickey Creek Flood Project.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this particular item, we do have a water line that, and it's actually, we have a water line, sanitary sewer line relocations that were both part of this project. This particular sanitary sewer line, we had in the plans for the second phase, but with the excavations that we have underway out there and the depth and width, it's become apparent that we're going to need to go ahead and advance and move that sewer with this phase as compared to the second phase. And we're on the last bridge structure out there at 141st and Mingo. So this would be relocating some of that sanitary sewer in that southeast corner of Southwood South.
Is that gonna go into the lady's house or her yard worse than it is now?
It has to go, it's in the same yard, yes. It has to go across that back corner.
Okay, so is it gonna take up more space or?
No, this is something that was planned already. This is all located on city-owned property.
Okay, I know it's on city-owned property.
Yeah.
I know there's been, you've been out there, I've been out there, I think, waiting for John to go. Is there any way we can, I mean, do we have to, like, on that property, is there any way we can keep that line from going so close to her fence line? I mean, is
Which
it the
line, the
or is it
sanitary sewer
road?
line?
Is it the line or the road that's getting up against the fence?
This particular line will be in the middle of one of our concrete structures.
Okay, so
so
is
we
that
had-
gonna be out in, by the road then already, or is that out right?
This will be in, this is on the very eastern edge of what used to be her yard, yes. So we do have to relocate it out of the way, because where it's located right now, we have the channel and box, so this manhole would be right in the center of where our drain would be. So we're going to have to move it further to the west.
Right, well, and I, you know, one thing I did notice when I was out there, that the cement withholding ravine we have right there, it's like full of water. The one that's presently right at the back of her property, there's a lot of water setting in it, I should say.
Okay, that may be due to the construction going on right now, because typically that channel is dry. There's nothing, there's a few areas that feed it, but it's probably due to work with the last rains that we had if you were out in this last week. Because for the most part, that channel stays dry. If you look on the east side of where that box is, probably about a good third of that channel has been filled in the past, up on the east side on Mingo.
So, I guess the question I have again is how close are we gonna be to our fence line with our roads and all that we're doing over there?
We're in an active conversation on what, I don't have a set of plans here to say where's the fence line. It's well to the east of her house. When you say the fence line,
The back of our yard.
the part that we bought or
Yeah,
the part?
that we're, like, I know you have a temporary fence line marked right now.
Well, that's what we bought.
Okay.
So that is, if we're going to say, that is the property line. We purchased that back piece from her and then the adjacent property owner to the south of that.
Okay.
So what we're looking at doing now is seeing what other adjustments we might make and trade
That's what
land
I was
area
asking.
to see if we can readjust how that fence to push it further to the east.
Yeah,
But
'cause
this
right now-
won't affect any of that.
Okay, so this won't affect any of it.
No. Regardless of what we do, we have to get this done or we can't do the project.
Okay.
Jared, you said the city purchased that property. I don't know what property you're talking about. So
Okay,
how
this-
does the city purchase property, or do I know about it? Have we
Yeah,
talked
this,
about
this
it?
was part of our Hickey Creek acquisition.
Okay.
And so this bridge, there were two properties on the west side of Mingo, right at 141st. So this is probably 3, 4, 5 years ago. We purchased two pieces of property right there at 141st. And
That's within that purchase.
right, and that's part of that purchase. So we have a homeowner that wants to go back and swap some of the land that we purchased, so it'd be a balance to try to square the yard up. Right now, we took a triangular piece, and they've asked that we square that up and have a more rectangular piece instead of a triangle piece in the backyard, and that's what we're working to try to get done.
Change order number 4. So where are we at on change orders?
Where we at? To date, the only change order 2 and 3 were both negative.
Okay.
So we had change order number 1 for about $12,000. So with this particular project, 12 and 32 makes about $44,000 out of a $3.7 million contract, so.
Do we allow a little bit of contingency in there? And that's 1%, almost 1%.
Right.
Do we allow a contingency on those contracts typically, or?
Not in the contract itself, in the budget, when we set the budget, we do.
We do,
And this was significantly less than what our original estimate had been, so I,
1% is pretty good.
yeah,
That's
we're.
very low.
Yeah,
Okay.
and this is not work that is new or different, this is work that would have been part of phase 2, we're just bringing it up to this phase, because what we've encountered out there, so this isn't really in addition to the rest of the scope in terms of the overall project, we're just doing it now rather than phase 2.
Any other discussion? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Loudmout,
Yes.
Guthrie,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
and Easton.
Yes. Assistant City Manager's report.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I had two different things to report. Number one, we are going to be conducting some customer service training next week. Any staff that wishes to participate, and all department heads are aware and have asked their staff to be there. I think we're going to try to start doing this on a biannual basis, every 6 months, to be sure that, and it is being sponsored, is at no cost to the city by our insurance provider. OMAG is going to help us do that training. If I've missed anything, Betty, jump in, but I think we'll do that biannually. We've also,
Can I comment on that?
sure,
Sorry to interrupt you. So you said that it was gonna be optional?
it's up to any department heads to tell which one of their employees they think should attend.
I would think it should be different. I think that the department head should say who should attend. Anyone that touches a customer in the city needs to take the training, period. I mean, that's
Yes,
my.
yes, what I'm
If
saying
you
is,
touch a customer in the city, you should sit in that.
yes, each department head is making that determination on who out of their department should be there.
Okay.
Let me restate that, yes.
I thought I heard it the other way.
Okay,
that
and I may have said
They
that,
made that
Yeah.
optional to all employees, so.
yeah. It's up to the department heads to designate those
Just a
employees
comment.
that should be there,
Just a comment.
yes, yeah. I agree, that's how we're doing it. The second item is that we do have on schedule from, in 2 weeks to go over the Lake Bixoma Master Plan. We've talked about that for some time. We do have some exhibits to talk about that. The Department of Fish and Wildlife wants to participate, so we're going to have staff, Fish and Wildlife, and the Lake Bixoma Endowment Committee, and along with our architects, are all going to be there to go through that. So if any council members are interested, I'll certainly send all the information out to you guys as well, if you would like to attend, but we'll be doing that, I think it's November the 5th, in the morning. That's all I had to report.
What about Thursday?
Thursday. Next Thursday, or this
This
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yes, this Thursday, we are going to have a dual-purpose employee appreciation United Way luncheon for the employees citywide in Fire Station Number 2. So that will be for city employees and council members. If we can have 2, 3, can they all be there? Pat? We can all be there, okay.
Fire Station 2 is downtown.
Fire Station 2, yes.
Downtown.
Downtown, probably start about noon or 11:30? 11:30. We'll start at 11:30 and
This Thursday?
Yeah.
this Thursday, yes.
Out of town.
So we should, all departments will be there.
What were you gonna say?
I thought this was 1 and that was 2.
It's the downtown fire station.
Okay,
Yeah, I thought so, that's what.
Because
Fire Station 1.
That's all we have on note.
Sure, okay.
That's one.
Downtown
the
fire,
downtown fire station.
adjacent to City Hall.
Downtown is south of the river.
That's right.
For those of you north of the river, it's
Real
actually.
downtown.
Okay. Mayor, the last one, I think, is mayor's report. As most of you know by now, our Doug Innovoltson, our city manager, has retired effective January 2nd, 2016. Doug's, without a doubt, one of the hardest working, most dedicated public servants that I've ever met. He served the past 5+ years with honor and integrity and represented our city well. As a result of his work here, he increased the city's credit rating to AA+. And I believe there's only one city in Oklahoma that has a credit rating higher than that, and that's Oklahoma City. Is that right? You know, Doug's a man of character, devoted to public service, and I congratulate and thank him for his outstanding accomplishments. And I want to wish him, as I'm sure we all do, a full recovery and good health in the future. In the not too distant future, the city council will outline a process for selecting another city manager. But I can tell you that we are in very capable hands right now with Jared Cottle, our assistant city manager. He's been running the city in Doug's absence, and he's just done a remarkable job.
Yeah.
So, anybody else want to comment?
Well, if I didn't look for comment, I mean, I was going to reiterate what you said. I mean, I've known Doug for a number of years, and he's a great guy. He's a hard worker. I mean, anybody who's ever worked with him would realize how hard he works, and I think it finally kind of got to him. So, you know, I just wish him the best, and I got nothing good to say about the guy.
Say that again.
So I have nothing but good to say about
But
him.
good. I didn't hear the but in there. Okay. I knew what you meant, though.
Well, I want to take a minute and make sure we tell Jared, thank you very much for all the work he's done. He's been carrying 2 jobs and not just one, and it's hard enough for anybody to do one job here. And we appreciate you.
I echo all three. I wish Doug the best and best of health, and everybody can pray for Jared.
We wish Jared the best of
The
health.
best of health.
New business, seeing none, we adjourn this meeting at 6:40 Microsoft time.
No, I think that's Timex time.
It would be before something like this.
Okay.
6:34.
Anyway, we're adjourned.
You're gonna do the BPWA cancel?
The BPWA, due to lack of business, has been canceled. Adjourned.